I'm Steven.
And I'm Spencer. Welcome to Ragnarokast, your podcast for all things marketing and MarTech.
Hello, everyone. We're the co-CEOs of Ragnarok.
Hi there, everybody. Welcome for those you can see us, that can hear us. Today in the studio, we have myself, Spencer. We've got our co-host, Steven is back in action.
Lame-o Steven, back in action.
I don't know what the order of these podcasts is, so maybe we've already established that, maybe not, but he's here. And then for the very first time, we have our clients, Amanda and Adam here.
Hello.
From Updater, and also from Life.
Yes.
Hello.
The company Life, the board game, or real?
Well, they exist outside of the company too, I assume.
Somewhat.
Actually, have you guys seen that show Severance?
No, I've heard about
Okay,
it.
I won't give anything away, but
Yeah.
it's relevant. Amanda, Adam, do you guys want to just, introduce yourselves, talk a little bit about what you do?
Sure. I can start. Hi, everyone. I'm Amanda Amato. I have been with Updater for 8.5 years, and I currently serve as our Director of User Engagement. So user engagement is a team that kind of sits between product and marketing. We're responsible for all communications to our various user audiences. So whether that's through email, SMS, or push, we're responsible for campaign production from end to end. Our goal is basically to deliver an engaging user experience that complements our app and adds significant value for our users. And in all of these efforts, we run a lot of tests to try to optimize the user experience. So hence the importance of our partnership with the data team, which is a good segue to introduce my counterpart, Adam.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Adam Salzman, and I joined Updater about 2 years ago to help start our team that's called Product Analytics. And our mission is simply to use data to improve business outcomes. So we partner closely with stakeholders across the company, like Amanda and user engagements, to be very data-driven about our decision-making, as well as try to solve some of the toughest problems within running our company, as well as solving problems for our users who are moving. Mostly our users are people moving. Currently, my world is split between two focuses. One is on a dedicated pod that's building a kind of next-gen resonant move-in app. And the other half of my work is split on finding, partnering, and pursuing data opportunities, which is a lot of fun. And really, that's how Amanda and I partner. So it's very high impact, very much focused on results, very ad hoc. As Amanda mentioned, this includes lots of experimentation. Let's get started on the podcast.
All right.
Yeah.
I love that. So we're going to jump right into the questions here. So before we get into the how of the conversation, Amanda and Adam, tell us a little bit more about Updater.
Updater makes moving easier for the millions of Americans who move every year. Have either of you moved recently, or can you remember your last move?
Yes, and I use Updater every single time.
That's right.
I'm a big fan of it. Yeah, so I just recently moved from New York to Philadelphia. Spencer likes to say, "I'm sorry, buddy. I didn't mean to leave." And yeah, I used Updater, of course, because I use it every time. More to organize for myself, which I think is really nice. I almost forgot to do this, or I forgot to do that. So it's the checklist that I use it for, I'm not going to lie.
Yep.
But I love it. I've used it 3 times prior to that. So
you are a loyal customer.
No,
then,
I'm very loyal.
But you're not answering my question the right way now. But I was going to say, you're a different case because you moved with Updater, so it was much easier for you.
Right.
But moving is typically a very stressful process.
So stressful.
In fact, it is the third most stressful life event after death and divorce. And it's also something that—
Wait, which order? Death first, then divorce, or the other way around?
I believe it's death first, then divorce, then moving. So it's also something that pretty much everybody goes through. People move multiple times in their lives, so it's a pretty universal problem. So we're really passionate about taking this process that's normally very stressful and painful and turning it into a more seamless digital experience. And our business model is actually pretty unique too. So the way that we acquire our users is we actually partner with different real estate companies. So you can think of property management companies or real estate brokerages, and they invite their clients and residents into a fully personalized moving app. So that app that Stephen used. In that experience, we then help the people who are moving take care of everything that they need to for their move. So they can do things like forward their mail with the post office, update their accounts and records, set up their internet, their utilities, book moving services. You can buy boxes. Everything that you can think of that you need to take care of for your move, you can do in Updater. So by taking these different groups of people and pulling them together, the real estate companies, the people themselves who are moving, and also these entities that are providing services to people who are moving as well, we've essentially brought all of the different partners of the moving ecosystem into one place and started building out this really unique three-sided marketplace that brings in everybody that's involved in the moving process.
Talk about a win-win-win, huh?
Yeah. Right?
So you kind of mentioned you have three different stakeholders. So I remember when we came on board and started working with you guys, it was pretty early on. I felt like our primary stakeholder was just kind of the user and their experience. Like we weren't really talking as much with I almost think of it as like the B2B side of the business kind of separately. So you're thinking about this kind of B to B to C to B type model here, where it's, I imagine from a data perspective, in one case we have employees tied to companies, then we have users tied to non-companies. How do you kind of like work on this from just like a marketing and data perspective to like kind of have like a clean way of sort of having all these things measured equally?
So yeah, our marketplace, our app, our platform has a lot of sides and a lot of participants. I would say like our culture at Updater and our vision is very mover focused. So probably number one priority is the person using our app to move. And then when the app is working as expected, everyone else is happy as well. So we arrange our models that way. Like when we say, look at performance or we run an A/B test, everything is focused on, we call our movers our users either movers or consumers. Everything is focused and primarily denominated as a mover metric. And then we bring in the influence of the other participants, whether that's a vendor that they're working with or whether that's a property or an on-site. Long story short, it's all focused around satisfying the needs of the mover and then looking at how the other engagers on the platform are either there's opportunity or there's some friction that we need to help solve. And
then how do you kind of balance because I imagine that your B2B side of the business, they have certain, I'll say, expectations about certain things that do they ever sort of cause friction with the mover side of the platform? Like how do you kind of balance these two folks who have very different almost objectives, right? The movers for the ease of moving, the business or the real estate company is more to just, I guess, get people in faster, or what's what are the different objectives? How do you balance them?
Exactly. It's not just you turn it on and it works. There's, being a startup, like the answer is we don't know a lot of times. We learn as we go, we're like kind of building the plane in flight, to use a tired analogy. But how we balance, say, an objective is, say, a property may want something that's highly automated and doesn't take a lot of time, but a user may need something that's more personalized and customized. So one, we would say, do A/B testing to find out the right solution, and then kind of, through brainstorming, figure out how can we build that in the most scalable way. So it's a lot of iteration, and it's a lot of looking for the scalable, practical ways to solve the problem.
Yeah. And bringing it back to the idea of a three-sided marketplace, though, to answer your question, Stephen, a well-functioning three-sided marketplace works in and of itself. Yeah. So when the user is happy and they're using the product that's servicing, that's making the service providers happy, they're going to continue to use it when they're providing those services and creating a vast, helpful marketplace with everything that somebody needs. Our real estate partners want to offer this to their clients. So when it's all in the perfect world, it does all work harmoniously and work together. But that doesn't mean to say that you can just get there. So there are challenges along the way.
Right, I imagine, yeah.
An interesting thing to add on to Amanda's point is, think about something not working. Like I'm moving into a building and I'm upset the app didn't work. That's going to mean me as a mover is sending an email and complaining to like the leasing agent. But if things are working, then the interests are aligned. There's like less back and forth emails needed. The app is working. So there are like incentives where everything is aligned a little bit.
So when we started working together, gosh, like 4 years ago, 5 years. I mean, Spencer, you'll remember a lot
5
better.
years ago, 2018.
2018.
Yeah.
Bam, so long.
I was going to say.
Yeah, I mean that was 3.5 years into your tenure,
Yeah,
man. I mean,
Long time.
I remember, we were in the process of migrating into a new email platform, and one of the main things that we were doing was trying to kind of balance some of the behaviors we're trying to drive in the app, more or less, like get people to come back in, get people to hit certain milestones, remind people about the different like items in the checklist, if you will, that they had to complete prior to like having a successful move. Have you sort of seen, it sounds like you've kind of shifted some of that to be more done in the product, or is it still kind of a balance between, communication externally plus product? Like how do you kind of keep that user moving through, so to speak?
Yeah, it's a really good question. It's definitely a balance between both, and I think that's where the purpose of today's conversation really comes into focus, and that's where the data team has really unlocked a lot of that power for us in making all of the data that we have accessible to us allows us to run experimentation through the full platform. So whereas I'm running this user engagement team and we are working on like our main tool that we use today to execute on these initiatives is through email, we're able though to understand through email what sort of impact our tests are having in platform as well. So by bringing that data forward and allowing it to be more easily accessible, we're able to run tests that are allowing us to see what sort of impact we're making. So we are able to use email as an extension of the product, an extension of the entire user experience, and to run really meaningful tests that drive really meaningful business impact as well. But yeah, I mean, Ragnarok played a really major role in, the implementation of our ESP that we have today and still use, which is iterable, and the build out of what has essentially become our acquisition engine, like the very front of the funnel for us, all the way through the whole user communications process. Because when I started working with Ragnarok, I know that we didn't have an in-house team to build or implement any of this stuff. So we relied really heavily on Steven and others with Ragnarok to help us build this function out from the ground up. So not just implementing, campaigns, but starting once we had a solid groundwork, starting to test, to optimize, to learn. And from there, always just having like a helpful sounding board to go back to for advice and for questions and for, strategic advice as well. So you guys were really crucial in helping us build this amazing function that we have today, a full team.
I feel so proud.
But even as we've built out this team and now we have this function in-house, I mean, look, I'm here today. We still work with you guys because we know that if we need additional bandwidth or if there's a particular challenge that we're facing, we know that we can always, come back for support as we need it. And so we're very appreciative of that.
Yes. Well, we love Updater. We love you guys so much. And actually, Adam, you mentioned something really interesting about experimentation and whatnot, sort of using emails as sort of like a pilot channel of things. And it makes me think back to very early on, Amanda, when you and I were working with Chris Byington on the team directly about that. And he was kind of amazed by the A/B testing functionality that we had in Iterable, and we were trying to kind of recreate this thing in-house. But we're like, actually, we don't really need to do it. We could kind of use. So we're even trying to find ways to kind of shortcut early on how to get some of the like experimentation data, if you will, out of the platform and use that. So it's good to see you're continuing that trend, because that's one thing we tell a lot of folks to do is like, well, where can you like cheaply test? Because doing product tests is expensive. No matter how many tools you shortcut to it, you still have to design an experience. Painted doors or not, like it can get pretty costly.
Absolutely. Like when I think of our challenges, the number one challenge for me to deliver for the stakeholders as well as for like the team to accomplish the results is like just getting high confidence learnings in the shortest period of time and exposing the business to as little risk as possible. Because like the absolute worst thing that could happen is we make a product change, we think it's a positive for the user experience and the business results, and then 2 weeks later, we have to roll it back and start from zero. Like we're a startup. We don't have the resources to make that big of a mistake. So we would rather know like at the time of making the decision, whether it's an A/B test or a choice of some other kind of change, we need the confidence learning, so we're making the right choices, or we know that we haven't found the solution like right away. So, and really with the platform that we have today, we have a very high success rate in like data integrity and like decision making. Our changes don't always win, but our confidence in the data and that data staying the same, that is extremely high here at Updater. So that's, I think, a challenge solved.
Yeah. And to your point, Stephen, we are able to use email and different, other channels as kind of like a proving ground for products. So I mentioned that user engagement really sits between product and marketing. We work very closely with the product team and can understand if there's a test if there's an idea that they're trying to validate before taking the effort to build it out and test it in product. Sometimes we can turn it around much more quickly and get at least a quick signal via email, for example, as to whether or not something is worthwhile to pursue.
So Adam, you're on the data team. Amanda, you're on the marketing team. And, we've seen how like you can work together on the tools, but like how have you nurtured the relationship between those two teams, like internally? Maybe that's something that, because I'm not going to name any names, but we've seen many companies where these two teams literally like barely talk to each other. And it's great that you have like this close relationship for yourselves, for the company culture, but for the customer, so that they have a more unified experience. So how have you guys internally kind of, championed that and worked on that?
Yeah, I think it comes down to a few key things, like to build a successful relationship here. First, I think it's just having a really strong foundation. So you need the resources, the tools, the people, the actual ESP, the experimentation platform, bodies and chairs to do these things, to strategize and to build this out. In my opinion, that's the hardest part about starting this work. It requires a lot of time and effort and expertise to do it right and to do it correctly. And this is something, like I said, that Ragnarok was really crucial in helping us build out from the beginning. Another key thing, I think, is data democratization. I'll let Adam talk about that, but I do need to pump up our data team a little bit because the data team at Updater is absolutely incredible, and they really foster this culture of data democratization, which is just, making data accessible to all so that everyone at the company is empowered to make smart decisions and to make informed decisions about the work that we should or should not do. So Adam, anything?
Right, before that, I just want to interject. I would also vote for that.
Thank you for your vote.
What are you talking about?
Democratization, democracy, voting, baby. Bam!
That's thin, man. That's real thin. Skating on. Sorry, go ahead, Adam. Ignore that.
I think the key to successful relationship that is like high impact, like Amanda and I have, is really comes like one part values of our company. We're a distributed workforce at Updater. So like we are very intentional and also empathetic about how we work with each other. Like if I just met Amanda, it's all about getting to know each other, setting off that, finding out, learning about each other, finding a common goal that we want to work for in terms of results, and then establishing work practices, whether it be async or Zoom meetings, like whatever works best, we get that all out of the way so we can succeed. And that's like part of values at Updater. The outside of that, I would say the key to a successful relationship is really being focused on like a user-driven model. Like during this talk, we talked about marketing, our product. At Updater, we just view the user, and we view those things as solutions. So we're more focused on the user opportunity or user problem, and then how best to solve it if it's working with our call center, the marketing team, or the product team. And we look at solutions that go end to end, and we're small enough to like still execute that if you have the right relationships, which I would say is a key part of success. Plus, Amanda's just awesome. And like whenever there's a need, like we need to, like we're making too much money, make less. No, just kidding. Like we need to grow revenue. Amanda and I are like, how can we do it faster than what the company wants? So
thanks, Adam. Right back at you.
For the data teams that aren't engaged, I would say step one is like get to know your stakeholders and like find a common goal to work towards, and then it's all natural.
Yeah. Right back at you, Stephen. And I would just say too, it doesn't hurt that in this partnership, we've just we have the luxury of agility, I think, and we're small enough to be able to take a lot of our ideas and run with them, to take some really big swings and sometimes they hit, sometimes they don't, but that's okay. We're able to do that together. And when we do that, we find that we're able to make some really, really meaningful impact on the business, like meaningful revenue contributions, meaningful user count contributions. And so it just makes it fun working together like that, seeing the kind of impact that, 2 to 4 people can make together in a short period of time is really powerful.
Right, Spencer? 2 to 4 people working together can make a beautiful friendship. It can really blossom into a beautiful company.
Yeah, true.
Yep.
You could be in a basement in Queens.
You can.
And
it can flood. It can flood. You can still be together.
Were you guys roommates?
We were roommates too.
Yeah, I could tell.
Yeah.
I remember one time, I think shortly after we started Ragnarok, we're like, we're like big time, we're executives. And I walk in and we lived in a basement, and a pipe had burst. And so the entire apartment was flooded. It was like, I want to say like maybe a foot deep.
Yep.
And my room was over there, but for some reason I walk in and I see my laptop just sort of floating like right by the door, like literally floating.
Fact.
It's literally like Parasite, the movie, like the basement apartment that floods. No, I don't know.
Yeah, no, it was bad. Yeah. And you know what? We actually did have pipes that were functional
and were colored.
We did paint them. We painted them.
Did you have a little PTSD when you walked to the updater office?
Yeah,
and you saw
I started shaking back and forth. Oh no, it's all coming back.
Right. You guys need to do a podcast about you guys lived together and started a business together at the same time and grew up together and did all of that together?
Yeah.
Lots of togetherness.
We went to different colleges.
Much togetherness, yeah.
We went to different colleges.
And different high schools.
Different high schools, yeah.
Okay. Well.
I missed them so much. You left me. You left me.
Hey, listen, Stephen came down every weekend, all right?
That's right. We were buds.
Yeah.
I get it.
Anyway.
Well, actually, if you don't mind, I wanted to interject here really, really quick, which is, Amanda, you have this very unique role, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most teams, as sort of Adam mentioned, is like, it's pretty binary. It's marketing team and data team. Mm-hmm. You're this hybrid, data product marketer person, talk about a triangle.
Yeah.
You kind of have the whole, you're like the Triforce right here.
Triforce of MarTech.
Triforce of MarTech. Yeah.
I like that.
So how did you kind of wind up here? This is such an interesting role, so to speak. And do you think that, that there's a lot of, should other companies have a role like yours, or is it works specifically for Updater? Yeah.
It's a great question. And you're right. It is a really unique place to be. My history at Updater has always been on the marketing team. And what happened in this case was we had a role at Updater called an engagement manager. And that was a person that sat on the product team and basically was responsible for ensuring that we had campaigns in place that serviced the product, right? So transactional campaigns if a user transacted in the product. They worked on our acquisition funnel. They also, which is our invite platform. We invite people through email to join Updater. And then I would say they started, to foray a bit into some abandonment style campaigns, right? But it was pretty black and white and focused on those areas. Startup world, this person announced they were leaving. And so our leadership asked me to just temporarily fill in this space while we immediately backfilled the role. And I've been doing it now since 2019. So as a marketer that came into this space, I was like, there's so much opportunity here to start to actually proactively engage with our user. What if we introduce lifecycle campaigns, different touch points to be helpful, to provide more context, to just hold our user's hand throughout their journey with Updater and through a move, which is a very stressful time. And over the years, almost every campaign that we've introduced that's net new has proven to be beneficial. And from there, it's let us, we've built a really strong baseline that we've then optimized and built upon. So it's really interesting. It was kind of like kismet, I guess, that this happened. And I do think it's something that's really unique, and it's powerful if you have this, if you can build out this experimentation arm and have somebody that's always focused on the user journey, what you are saying to people, how you are re-engaging with them and getting them back into your product, and focus specifically on that, partnered with a data partner who can give you really meaningful insights to help you strategize and come up with the best plan to make the most impact that matters the most for your company, has been really worthwhile for us. So I think it is something cool for others to try.
And I have a question about one of your features. So, or actually, this might be a feature request. So, when you're picking a moving company, like, is there like maybe a scale for how smelly you want the movers to be? Or not be?
Would you prefer them smellier?
Well, I would prefer them less smelly. Because there was, I moved in my latest place, and I should have used Updater, honestly.
Yes.
And, the guys that came, the one guy was great, very professional. The other guy, I don't know his name, but forever he is known to me as BO guy. Because it wasn't just like, oh, he smells, whatever. Everybody smells when it's hot out. But it just lingered for weeks after.
It really stayed with you.
And he also stacked two of my TVs on top of it, like flat screen TVs on top of each other, like screens together. And one of them broke, and I had to go and buy a new TV. And
did you submit a claim through the moving company?
yeah, they're like, you broke it yourself. How dare you?
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Sounds like a New York moving company.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, is there a way to like to segue this into a real question? Like, actually, no, I'm not going to segue. I'm just going to leave it there.
There's absolutely a way. So number one, next time you need anything moved, whether it's a whole house or a bulky item, you should use Dolly.com, which is one of our like wholly owned subsidiaries. So one thing that Updater did about 2 years ago is we acquired like a gig delivery app that also now does apartment moves. And number one reason why we did that is research came back that most people were really unhappy with the service that they got from movers, and the ability that there's no confidence in the moving marketplace today to like find good options. If you do want that smell, there's no aroma filter. So like one of the key success metrics for Dolly is like our jobs being picked up, our helpers arriving, is, customer satisfaction, post move, et cetera. We track all those things. And now like our platform is so end to end. We know the moment you're applying to an apartment, and we also know the moment you're booking your movers, and we know who's delivering it, and we know where they are, and we're showing you on an app. So it's like really cool to be able to monitor as well as increase the quality of the move.
But you're saying that if I want them to smell like lavender minty, that's not in there yet?
What you do is you would say, I just want to move the big items. And then during item, you would say, I want a box moved by a smelly mover who smells like lavender. And I'm
Consider
sure
it
our
added to the feature
operations team
request.
will find some kind of helper to
Special
do that.
note.
The Updater Aroma Filter.
Yeah,
I love it.
I love
Looking
it.
forward to it.
Consider it added to the feature request list.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Hey, Stephen, do you want to give us a quick recap of everything we talked about this episode?
Let me see if I remember. Okay. So this was Amanda and Adam. Thank you so much for coming on. Just to quickly recap, today we sort of talked about some really interesting things you guys have going on at Updater, including the Aroma Filter. But actually, it's nice to see how a data and a marketing team can work really well together, and to kind of drive an experimentation model, but also to drive the kit for the user in the whole sense of the word, instead of having to be so kind of tied down to maybe specific metrics, where, as we see traditionally in marketing teams, that can lead to bad user experiences. Whereas with in sort of your role, it sounds like it's actually your outcome is the user data, is the user engagement, is the user story. So it's really nice to see that that's right sized to actually making good product experience. And really glad that we could be kind of part of that journey with you guys and help to build that out, and excited for what you guys have in the future here. And I'm sure that, again, kind of owning the whole experience end to end is a really great move. No pun intended, but I think there certainly is there's always more, right? Like moving is such a huge space. And I think working with you guys helped me realize just how big it is, from utilities to, you guys are going to start power lines soon, laying some cable down, there's lots to go. So just thank you so much. And just really, I just think that you guys are just on such the bleeding edge of what companies should be doing. So I think the fact that you still consider yourselves a startup, which I question at this point, you've been around for a long time, but you've always been like very lean, very agile, very ahead of the curve, which is great because you kind of invented the space in a way. So I think it's, you have the sandbox, so to speak, to kind of build whatever castle you want.
Can we coin the phrase "started up"?
Ooh. Yes.
Okay.
Where does that put us? Are we started up?
We're started up.
We're started up.
We started up as hell, man.
Yeah, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. This is really fun.
Thank you. Thanks, Adam. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. Like us on LinkedIn and do all the stuff on all the other channels that I forget what we're on now.
And visit our friends at Updater at updater.com.
Ooh.
Yes.
www.updaater.com.
Are you guys on Threads yet?
No.
No
I'm
Threads?
Not on Threads. No.
Kat, are we
I'm
on
on
Threads?
Threads.
Adam's on Threads. Find
Adam
out.
I used to
personally
work for
Threads.
Facebook, so I was like one of the first users.
I don't want to be the one person in the room that says, what's Threads? But I'm going to do it because I have no idea.
I think that's all we have. All the time we have today for you. Now get out of here.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.